Yo, what's going on guys, CultOfMush back at it with another video, a $600 gaming PC build. I know a lot of you guys like to have that $500 budget to get into 1080p PC gaming, but I think if you guys can raise your budget to $600, it's going to give you a bit more flexibility and let you acquire better parts that in the long run is going to help you out a lot. And I think $600 is a good baseline to have as a budget if you're looking to play the latest games at 1080p at really good settings and really good frame rates. $600 is the minimum, in my opinion, that you should be looking to spend because you're going to get great performance and you're going to be able to play PC games how they're meant to be played. Yes, can you build a $450 machine that can run games at 1080p? Yes. But with $600, you're going to be getting really good frame rates, really good settings out of your games, and just a lot of options when you play those games. So without further ado, let's get right into this with the CPU. For the CPU of this build, I went with the Intel Core i5-4460 3.2GHz quad-core processor. This CPU is $175, and obviously at a $600 budget, you can't go for something crazy like a Skylake build, even with a Skylake i5. Those, if you find them for a relatively cheap price, you're looking at $250. That's just not going to fly in a $600 build. Instead, pick up the i5-4460. It's $175. It's clocked at 3.2 GHz, and while it's not overclockable, that does mean you won't have to buy a third-party CPU cooler, and you can just use the stock CPU cooler with the i5-4460. That's going to allow you to save more money, and the 3.2 GHz clock rate is still going to be perfectly fine with all the games coming out these days. So when you're building a budget and rig, I really like going with the i5-4460. Yes, $175 is still kind of on the higher side, but your other options are an i3, which is going to be extremely limiting in some games, or you can go with an AMD CPU, which at times those can be very limiting in games as well. So I just think right now the i5-4460, even for $175, it's a great deal. And it's not going to kill your bank account either. For the motherboard, I went with the ASRock H97 Anniversary ATX LJ1150 motherboard for around $70. Primarily with the motherboard of a build like this, you're just looking for something that gets the job done. You're not looking for something that has SLI support, because chances are if you have a budget of $600 now, SLIing is probably something you're not looking to do. And even with the ASRock H97 Anniversary, you're getting your key essentials. You've got 4 RAM slots up to DDR3 1600MHz and up to 32GB of RAM. You've got 6 SATA 6GB per second ports. So for $70, this is a motherboard that's going to get the job done. It's going to let you save some money. And at the end of the day, with a motherboard and a build like this, you want to save a bit of money so you can put that towards your GPU. Moving on to RAM-Corsair Vengeance 8GB, 2 4GB sticks running at DDR3 1600MHz for only $35. That is a fantastic price for a kit of RAM like this. I remember even 9 months ago, this same RAM would cost like $60, even $70, so it's great to see that now you can get DDR3 8GB of RAM for only $35. And what's great about it is that 8GB is the perfect amount to have in a gaming build. You don't want more, and obviously you don't want any less. I mean, you'll always have the option to get more since, like I said, the motherboard does have 4 RAM slots, but if you're on a budget, 8GB is gonna get the job done, and considering getting it for a ridiculous price, it's fantastic. And I've mentioned this in other videos, but I'll reiterate it again. There are some games that sometimes do recommend more than 8GB of RAM. That was an issue with Star Wars Battlefront, although I don't know why anybody would want to play that game, but I digress. That game recommended more than 8GB of RAM. My machine only has 8GB of RAM, and I played that game perfectly fine at 1080p. So Corsair Vengeance 8GB of RAM for $35, ridiculous price. I don't see this kit of RAM getting much cheaper than it is right now. Maybe it'll go down to $30, but really I don't see it going down to $25 or $20. That would just be a bit ridiculous, so I think $35 or $30 is the best price you're gonna get. Pick it up, it's a fantastic deal. For storage, I went with the Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB for $50. Yes, I know that a lot of people are moving on to SSDs, and SSDs are really becoming a norm in gaming PC builds. However, in a budget like this, an SSD, you still can't fit it in unless you want to stick to 120 or 240GB at the most. If you do think you can stick with 120 gigs or 240 gigs, by all means, pick up an SSD. Pick up a Samsung A50 EVO. It's going to make your life a lot easier, and it's going to make boot times a lot quicker. However, being that this is a gaming build, you're going to want the mass storage. You're probably going to be downloading a lot of games on Steam, and considering the latest games coming out these days, you got games that are 50, 60, 70GB at times after you download all the DLC and all that crap. Games are getting ridiculously big, and if you just have a 240GB SSD, it might not be enough for a lot of you guys. So I just think for now, get the Caviar Blue. In the future, SSD prices are going to continue to drop, then pick up your SSD, and you can move everything over. That won't be too difficult, but for now, I think the Caviar Blue is still the better option for the majority of gamers on a budget. Moving on to the video card, I went with the XFX Radeon R9 283GB video card. This is the double dissipation model, and this video card really goes in and out of stock frequently, so if you want this build and you want this video card, I would recommend picking it up ASAP. Right now, you can pick it up on Amazon for $190, and that's a great price. The thing about the R9 380 is that it's about $220 to $230 for the 4GB model of that video card. That's a bit too expensive for a $600 build. And then yes, you can pick up the R9 380 2GB model, but you really don't want 2GB in a video card anymore. It's better to have 3GB, and with the R9 280, you're getting that for a really good price of $190. With this GPU, you'll be able to play Star Wars Battlefront, Fallout 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, all the latest games at really good settings and really good frame rates. Obviously, with a lot of games, there are just some settings you can't turn on because they'll cripple your frame rate too much, but let's put it this way, the R9 280 is going to play games much better than what you would see on a console, with much better frame rates and the game just looking a lot better. For $190, you really can't ask much more out of a GPU. Moving on to the power supply, I went with the SeaSonic 520W 80 Plus Bronze Certified power supply. This is about $50, a pretty high quality power supply. It's got great reviews. SeaSonic has a really good track record with all of their power supplies, and yes, while it is only 520 watts, like I said in this video, you're not going to be going for a Crossfire SLI configuration, so 520 watts is going to be perfectly fine. Get a decent quality power supply like this, it's going to get the job done, and $50 is a pretty good price. Finally, for the case, I went with the Cooler Master Half 912 ATX mid-tower case for about $50. Now, I am a bit biased towards this case because I do have this case myself, and guys, let me tell you, it's been working fantastically for me for the last 3 years. It's a great case, it's got a lot of room for upgrades and cable management, and aesthetically, I'm a fan of the plain black design. If you guys want to spend a little bit more money, you can pick up the NZXT S340 for about $65, but at this budget, I think the Half 912 for $50 is a damn good deal. And as I said, I've been using this case for a long time. It served me very well, and I can't recommend it highly enough. So that's gonna wrap up this video. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you have a request for a future video, leave it in the comment section down below. If you like this video, go ahead, leave a like. If you dislike, obviously dislike this video. And as always, guys, have a great day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.